Okay, we can start. There's just 1 minute left. So this is session 7 and the last session of our 2-day online conference. And the title of the session is AI, Surveillance and Moral Growth. So our first speaker or speakers, I'm not sure if Camila is joining you, Jonas? Not really?
No, just me.
Okay, so I'm hoping that I will pronounce your name correctly. So our first speaker is Jonas Ferrigolo Melo from University of Porto, Portugal. And he's going to present a talk titled Surveillance Culture and Fundamental Rights, the Excluded and the Beneficiaries. Yeah, if you're ready, you can take it away. Thank you.
Yeah,
And welcome.
Thank you. Are you seeing my screen? A full screen?
Yes, perfect. We can see it. Thank you.
Yeah, let me try. It's not passing. Yeah. Okay. Thank you to join this session. My name is Jonas Melo. I'm from University of Porto. This paper, the first author is Camila Costa from Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. She's from Brazil as well. I'm from Brazil also. Then sometimes we work together because she's finishing her PhD about surveillance culture and public security, and I'm studying privacy in digital environment. So sometimes we write something together. And I'm gonna present this paper. The title is Surveillance Culture and Fundamental Rights: the Excluded and the Beneficiaries. Surveillance has progressively grow in social life in the 20th and 21st centuries. Just a second, I'm going to put my time here. Okay. In part, it happens because of the adoptions of multiple sensors that can extract, collect, and analyze an enormous volume of data. This expressive data volume, variety, and velocity of processing is known as big data. The increasing adoptions of big data and models based on algorithmic intelligence has a massive impact on society because of its dissemination among social sphere through relations between the public and private sectors. These papers, I'm to discuss surveillance culture and its consequence on fundamental rights, such as privacy and freedom of speech. In addition, it's intended to debate the excluded and the beneficiaries of the surveillance society. We use a methodological approach, it's literature review. Surveillance tools have raised the concern of authorities and civil society in several cities around the world about privacy rights. And monitoring and surveillance systems have challenged the fundamental rights to privacy because they depends on the use and massive extractions of data that represent social dynamics. And David Lyon argues that surveillance capitalism is operate in a data-dependent surveillance culture that works in different way and has several consequences. For the author, surveillance capitalism is the source that enables surveillance culture and vice versa. Surveillance as a central component of modernity. According to Shoshana Zuboff, surveillance capitalism has 3 dimensions. The first one is exploitation of data source that record everything in every way. Second, data extraction is a single directions process with no structural relationship or responsibilities, but depends on subjective signals. And third, analysis, that means the material techniques replace spiritual authority. And surveillance culture relates, on one hand, the everyday experience of surveillance, where individuals live with cameras in public and private space, such as airports, buildings, vehicles, and other places. All these devices collect, store, transmit, and analyze data. And on the other hand, surveillance culture resides in more active practice by individuals using services, or more likely through social media. The surveillance idea has emerged as a form of control by the governments, business, and individuals, especially in public security. It has become a central component of modernity. And Fernando Bruno understands surveillance as the activity of systematic and focused observations of individuals, populations, or informations about them. So to extract knowledge and intervene on them to govern their conducts or subjectivities. The basis of this is a triple regime of legitimation. The security, the surveillance, it's good because of security, because of media visibility, and because of efficiency, especially regards network service and communications technology. And in this context of mass surveillance, all individuals become suspects until proven innocent, turning the whole society into a potential suspect. Frankie Pasquale argued that an incomprehensive surveillance state is as much a threat of freedom as fear of insecurity or terrorism. And the author's critique goes on the state that those who watch over them have the power to classify critics of the systems as enemies of the state, observing them evermore. As such, the prominent harm of mass surveillance, it is the ability to silence the opposite voices. It's now much easier to collect data with less effort due to the difficulty in complying with the law and ever lower cost for storage, and thus make it better to keep as much data as possible rather than erase it. In a world where surveillance is the norm, the very fact that it exists indicates the presence of structures and systems that are part of many spheres of society life. Behind confidentiality agreements and proprietary formats, the government agents and the private institutions hide their actions. At the same time, every people in a social technical networks has been captured in an almost absent world regarding legal regulations protecting individuals' privacy and surveillance. Even though networks collect more and more data from their users, few laws protect users from exercising control over their digital dossiers, their digital documents or informations. Market pressures and advances on consumers who become raw material for data mining. Surveillance cameras and sensors are become cheaper and affordable in more places. Besides a fortune or abundance of data, the information from such operations results in detailed user profiles. All of this is in the process of blurring the boundaries between the public and private sector. Considerable aspects of social life, such as economy, healthcare, security, and more, are managed by artificial intelligence models based on big data. These models are obscure, difficult to challenge and keep accountable, operating on a large scale to optimize the lives of millions of people, or as O'Neill he refers to, they are weapons of math destructions. Automated systems are based on algorithm logics. It's apply artificial intelligence to process transforming by digitalization, such as television, the financial markets, politics, safety, and all spheres where data collecting serves as a means for instructions, information capital. The life turned into data is the commodity of the surveillance economy that has turned citizens into data, or citizens are replacing by algorithms. Societies have used surveillance driver technology ostensibly by prevent crime, track suspect, victims, and witness, and manage the penal and penitentiary system based on social protection. Such a trend should be criticized for at least two reasons. The first, societies have evolved into overprotect states based on a culture of fear and diffuse implementations of surveillance technology. And second, there are concerns about the erosions of the right to privacy derived from using surveillance technologies by private companies and public institutions. This state surveillance for security purpose and corporate espionage are not similar if examined superficiality. Private companies may argue that regulations reduce profit or the ability to innovate, while the state claims that society is a danger without full access to information. Based on this security argument, it's more difficult to crack down on state surveillance than corporate surveillance. However, their obscure structure and the intrinsic collaboration between the public and the private have shown that they are similar. And there is a logic behind the idea of data-driven security that believes that the collections of personal data would enable and be direct to focus attentions and research on threats, allowing them to be prevented. It presumes that citizens value security more than privacy, as those who one noting also to not fear increase the surveillance. Technological rationality has become political rationality in a scenario that uses privatizations for cost reductions and profit maximizations. Technological solutions are necessary for cost reductions and outsourcing decisions to intelligence machines. Surveillance is not a new phenomenon, but technological development has increased and reinforced it. Nowadays, they provide high-resolution images, records noise that recognize faces, and alert operations to suspicious activities. The boundary between public and private is dissiping with privacy cameras in public space. And surveillance is not only formed by video surveillance, but the association between the two of them is inevitable. This is due to the massive presence of cameras and the emergence of facial recognition technology. Such correlations also leads to the need to understand facial recognition technology as algorithms arrest technology because of their impression. Privacy is not only a fundamental right, but also a guarantee of others' fundamental rights and freedoms that balance the state and citizens in the development of democracy, social and economic innovation, and the exercise of autonomy. Privacy is a condition for the individuals to express himself freely, mass surveillance is itself assumptions of disrespect for democratic principles. And the responsibility of the surveillance state can mean a more significant threat to freedom than a specific security threats. Surveillance directly impacts the privacy rights, and allowed without privacy is dangerous, because privacy consists of not sharing intimate matters such as thought, experience, conversations, plans, habits, fears. Humans beings need privacy to relax from the difficulty of living in society, explore new ideas liberally, and form their own opinions. Privacy helps to protect against unwanted pressures and abuse of power. The emergence of a new civilization requires an open-minded intercultural dialogue that ensures more freedom of information and communication. And freedom of thought is kind of heart of intercultural information ethics for the future. And thank you. Here is Camila LinkedIn and email, and here's my LinkedIn, my email also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonas, for this great talk about the benefits of using surveillance technologies, the domains that the surveillance technologies are used today, and more significantly, the harms of using these technologies, such as erosion of the privacy rights and creating a culture of fear. I think that was an amazing talk. And does anyone have questions, thoughts, comments, feedback for Jonas? We have quite a bit of time for questions and comments, which is good.
Yeah, we can see in your research, we are looking for Brazilians' policies about surveillance. And we have a lot. We have a lot laws, not laws, but yeah, it's less than a law, but rules in governmental way that make that the cities and the governments can surveillance the population, the streets. Everything is about security, public security. But we are a poor country, but at the same time, you have a lot of money for companies. And what the government is doing, it's very strong in your analysis, not or because it's Camila analysis, is that first, it's a lot of money for private companies to do the surveillance of cameras, facial recognition, and so on. First, is a lot of money for a poor country, and the results, because they say it's best, is better for security, but the results shows it's not, because we don't have less crime because you have cameras, or we don't arrest or put in jail more people because we see from the camera what he's doing or what he intends to do. So the high level of investment is not no makes sense if compared with the results of the uses of these technologies. That's
well, thank you so much. So if no one has thoughts or questions, I have a couple of things in my mind, if you don't mind. Actually, what I find the most useful about your talk is this the last point that you made about intercultural communication with regard to the harms of using these surveillance technologies in a lot of domains. And I maybe my questions too broad, but how do you think that can be sustained, or what kind of specific benefits of this intercultural communication that we can have in regard to ethical uses of these surveillance technologies? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, both of her, Camila is doing her PhD in information science in Brazil, and I'm taking my PhD in Portugal about information and communication science. And we have a very strong point of view. It's about information ethics. But nowadays we are talking more than about just information ethics, because it's not just one information around the world. Because this information way have to look the specific things around about the culture. Because, for example, the surveillance in Brazil is different from the surveillance in Portugal. That is different surveillance for China, for example. So we have to look for the surveillance or security, security, public security, and use of face recognitions, but looking for the specific culture, because these ethical issues is different between these cultures. For example, in China, the people were asking about surveillance, and they really like, because they feel safe. You have many examples during the pandemic, the COVID. The people there in China with cameras, they can see if that person are or not sick, and then do some actions to protect the other people. So they're looking for their culture. Intercultural ethics there is different from the point of view of Brazil, for example. And that's why our aims, we have one point of view, but as Brazilians, but we at the same time, we think we have to look for different cultures.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree that maybe the solution to the harms that kind of preventing or reducing the harms of using these surveillance technologies in different cultures, the solutions for different cultures using of these technologies in different cultures could be different, because as you said, some cultures like surveillance, so maybe different solutions could be found. And I was another thing that I was curious about, since you talked in general terms about the harms of using these technologies, and I was thinking more prominently, because I've been reading about this specific, the surveillance, like what do you think about the issues of discrimination and bias in using these surveillance technologies, because that is a clear violation of the rights of privacy, and also violations of other human rights, I think.
Yeah, and nowadays we are not, we can't make the relations between privacy and digital environment. I can say in my own research, I'm studying the informed consent, that when we open a website, appears that box asking for cookies and personal data. We just don't care. We have no idea what's that, and just agree because we want to use the website. But it's about our privacy, and we can't relate it that I have a door in my house to people don't enter because they want, or don't see inside of my house because of my privacy. But why I agree that big companies and big techs take my information? It's also about my privacy, because my name, it's my, I don't know, my location, the name of my friends, and the things that I like. It's about my privacy also. So it's our society, for our society, it's a big, it's hard to see that that digital environment has things about our privacy also. And then, saying that, answer your question, this facial recognition, for example, yeah, it's many challenge and discrimination, especially with Black people. For example, some kind of cameras and technology can't recognize the face. For example, it's one way of discrimination, but that is more than that. In Brazil, as I said, it's a poor country, so we have many people with no identity. For example, in the last time, I don't remember the real number, but the last time I see it's millions of people with no identity, with no documentation. So these people will not recognize for these technologies, and that is another issues. Even though we think it's important to have identity, but for any reasons, for some people is not. I don't know. So we have to look carefully about that, and looking for the culture also.
Yeah, that I didn't know about the issue about people, how many people, like how much of the population with no identity. I think that's
Yeah,
that's an interesting point. Yeah.